The Wolf of Wall Street. With every batch of Best Picture nominees, there always seems to be at least one that runs 2.5 hours or longer. Last year, there were 4. While, admittedly, some fantastic movies run longer than that, I usually dread watching these because they often drag and I don't have the best attention span. Martin Scorsese, who's now responsible for 4 Best Picture nominees running at least 150 minutes, brings us this year's culprit with The Wolf of Wall Street, sliding in just under 3 hours. However, misdirect. Defying any initial dread, these 3 hours are such an outrageous and entertaining ride, they felt much shorter than the runtime of several of its fellow nominees. I'm looking at you, 12 Years a Slave. And while many have written this movie off as mindless debauchery, it's not as shallow as it may appear. The film follows Jordan Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, a real-life stockbroker whose memoir is the basis of the screenplay. For those keeping score at home, that means 6 of the 9 Best Picture nominees are based on actual events. On his first day as a naive young stockbroker, he's taught by his manic boss, played by Matthew McConaughey, that cocaine and hookers are, quote, the only way to do this job, setting the tone for the rest of the film. After his firm downsizes on Black Monday in 1987, he takes his skills to a small-time boiler room, run by Spike Jonze of all people, and dazzles every employee there with his salesmanship. Eventually, he meets the sleazy but ambitious Donnie Azoff, played by the remarkable Jonah Hill, and the two form their own brokerage company, Stratton Oakmont. From then on, it's a lot of drugs, a lot of orgies, a lot of obscene mayhem, that's a generously mild description, an FBI investigation, and a spiral. A lot of the details can't be described and just need to be seen. Don't make the mistake of assuming that this is just an insider trading story as a vehicle to examine greed in this country, like a rehashing of Oliver Stone's Wall Street. While it does touch upon that, it certainly doesn't hit you over the head with it like Oliver Stone usually does. Writer Terrence Winter actually said he was trying to write this story in the vein of Goodfellas, which makes sense because the two stories go a lot of the same places. I'm sorry that this is the second nominee this year that I've compared to Goodfellas, but Terrence Winter brought it up first. In both films, the main character buys into this certain lifestyle. The life of a gangster for Henry Hill in Goodfellas, and this life of absurd excess for Jordan Belfort. And while the protagonist in either film is infatuated with their respective lifestyle, the film doesn't exactly endorse it, but it doesn't demonize it either. While these characters in The Wolf of Wall Street certainly are deplorable, Scorsese's never really been one to pass judgment on his characters. If you don't believe me, look at Taxi Driver. Travis Bickle is undoubtedly one of the most dangerous sociopaths ever on film, but the movie doesn't necessarily portray him that way. Scorsese often just presents things at face value and lets the audience decide. Where does this desire for more come from? Does this Wall Street environment breed that desire? Why is it that when given enough money to do literally anything, they decide to throw dwarves at a target and pay a woman to shave her head just for laughs? Belfort, Downey, and most of the people who work for them came from humble beginnings, so was the potential to be monsters always in them and it just needed a means? Is this horrible potential within all of us? Would we be just as disgraceful if we too had unlimited means? Because as Belfort says, in one of his many speeches, Stratton Oakmont is America. Then again, not 10 minutes after this line, the entire office is chanting F the USA and urinating on subpoenas from the FBI, so... Let there be no confusion. These characters are scumbags. They are out-of-control children who, literally, use cocaine the way Popeye uses spinach. And that's why I have to praise Leonardo DiCaprio, who is completely reprehensible and simultaneously devilishly charming. I was originally skeptical of his Best Actor nomination, and I still don't think he was as good as Tom Hanks, but I was impressed. The combination of this role and his Frank Abagnale from Catch Me If You Can, which I think is his best work, convinces me that maybe DiCaprio belongs in more comedic roles. Granted, this is dark comedy. Pitch Black. And again, that's not easy to capture, but I was sold on his performance, even when it resorted to physical humor. I lamentably laughed at a lot of this movie, while some of the humor I thought was a bit much and I raised my eyebrows at it. The respective amounts that most people will laugh or raise their eyebrows will likely depend on their personal line of decency. But wherever that line is, I'm willing to bet this movie will help you find it.